No matter how full my closet gets, I swear I have nothing that I want to wear, which is why I'm super grateful for Armoire, because with their clothing rental membership, I get to have access to high quality, unique brands tailored just for me. All I had to do was take a 5-minute style quiz, and it was scary accurate with how much they knew my style, and by some kind of magic, it was delivered at my door within 2 days. If I want to try something new or swap out styles, I just send it. No laundry required. Best thing. Armoire is great for so many reasons. It can help define your personal style. It's super spot on. And also it's sustainable because I don't have to feel bad about if I wear an outfit one time and I just want to try something new. I can rent things, try them out, and keep swapping and not have to worry about waste. Plus, you're always going to have something to wear without hassle or clutter in your closet, which is what I really relate to. And no matter what occasion you have, whether it's a date or a work conference or a black tie event, you'll be the best dressed person in the room without even stepping a foot into the fitting room. This is fantastic because I've literally bought an entire outfit before just to go to one party. Armoire can also help if your body is changing, whether that's a fitness journey or during pregnancy. I know I've recommended this to a lot of the new moms that I know in my life, because your body's changing and you want to feel great and amazing. And one of my favorite things is that Armoire is women owned and led. They even spotlight women owned designers on their website. Right now, our listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That is up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/book talk. That's Armoire, ARMOIRE.style/book talk, BOOKTALK, to get 50% off your first month.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jac and Amy, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. This spring, we are hosting a book club while we prepare for our 10-part literary analysis of Sarah J. Maas's Crown of Midnight.
This is Jac.
And I'm Amy.
And each week we'll discuss one book from our spring book club roster. By using our literary background, we'll provide our flash analysis of each book, as well as discuss listener thoughts.
This is part 1 of this week's episode, where we're discussing Quicksilver by Calie Hart.
Welcome back to more Spring Book Club. Yeah, we are recording this in a very confusing fashion. So
we're not recording in order.
No, not in order of life, not in order of these books.
Yep.
It is March 22nd. Amy flies to Korea tomorrow.
I'm so excited.
This is her excited voice. You've never heard it here before. You may confuse it with constipation.
Or Tamlin.
Or Tamlin. Yeah. Isn't Tamlin constipation if you think about it? That's
quite frankly, yes.
Emotional
yes.
constipation.
Emotional constipation, that is truth.
Let's go back and redo ACOTAR season. That was fun.
We should redo it.
All right, 10 fingers up. Describe this book in 10 words or less.
You go first.
Okay. I was starting to think about it, and then I got distracted by eating food. So then...
I never think ahead, I should know better.
I know. We do this every time. Okay. A unique magical system with familiar dynamics resulting in fun.
Nice.
Dynamics meaning vampire.
Oh, okay. Okay. A fun amalgamation of tropes. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
I think you did. Wait, did you do too?
I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Thoroughly's one word. You put down both fingers. Exclamation point.
Exclamation point.
As always, we have to preface this by saying we read this, or we listened to it. We did not read.
Did you recognize who the voice actor is, the male one?
No.
Anthony Palmini, who was Rhysand, who we interviewed.
Wait, that's our Rhysand? Are we sure that was him?
Yes.
Oh
I wouldn't
God.
lie to you.
I think you would. That's so exciting. Say hi to him. Oh, that's so exciting. I feel weird now. It's weird having dirty feelings listening to a voice of someone that you met. And you're like, they're like a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was one of those books that I read earlier, I think in January.
Mm-hmm.
And like people have been asking us to do this forever, and then I did it just like for fun. Once I was done with it, I had two thoughts. One, I need Amy to read this ASAP. Two, we need to do it for book club.
Yeah. You did do a book review for Patreon on it, which I did not listen to.
Perfect. And I don't really recommend anyone going to listen to it because it was such a fresh, I need to sit and digest this analysis. I mean, I do recommend you go to Patreon and subscribe if you would like to support us. I'm not going to stop you, but it really was I'm trying to process, and now that I've had distance and I actually reread it for this, and I have such a different perspective. So first I want to hear your thoughts.
I want to hear your two different perspectives.
Oh my God. We just want to hear each other.
Yeah.
Just start a podcast.
So what do we want to hear? Are we doing general thoughts first?
I'll start because I want to address maybe some people have listened to the Patreon and they're just like, hey, Jac, that's like a lot of thoughts. I think that there were a lot of things that you miss on the first read when you don't know some of the heavy subjects that Kingfisher has gone through. We'll talk about Kingfisher and his abuse and it, like having had that context and knowing what was not just like what he was working through romantically with Saras Fane, beyond just being like, we're fates and we're mates and I love you. Beyond that, just kind of like his own emotional turmoil with the trauma that he went through was very interesting to reread and knowing what was coming with that.
Yeah. Should we do a quick spoiler disclaimer?
No, if you're here, I can't help you. No, we're here to talk about a book. So good news. The second one's not out. So if you're here from the future.
I agree with you. So I haven't reread it since the first time. It was obvious to me that he had been tortured in some fashion.
Yes.
I did not understand the level of mindfuckery of the torture.
I'll throw in a trigger warning here since like we're starting with torture as the conversation. This is why I didn't want to go first. But trigger warning, not just torture, but sexual abuse. And sexual abuse, not just by one man, but it was implied by many.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was another one where like it was just hinted on. Who knows if that's something that they're going to touch on in the next book. But I mean, that goes into, and I don't want to like go start with the meat and potatoes of it. Like I do want to kind of come back to that. But knowing that it changes a lot of the things that I was initially unsure about.
Okay.
But like, tell me about your flash analysis.
Yeah, let me talk about my gut reactions.
Yeah.
How's that? My
Perfect.
first impressions. I really enjoyed the dynamics of the characters. I really enjoyed that Kingfisher was not a nice guy. And, ultimately there was a motive to that, but I felt it was refreshing for us to see a protagonist fall in love with the male love interest and be like, why the fuck am I attracted to him? I fucking hate this. It was nice that it wasn't like immediate love at first sight. It wasn't that they had to work through. The fact that they ended up being fated mates, godbound, was not necessarily plain as day for me.
Oh.
And yes and no. I don't think it had the same archetypes or the same signals that fated mates typically have had in a lot of recent romantasy. So I liked that it was different because I was looking for different signals. How's that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's one of those things where in romantasy, when you get fated mates, it's kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're either fated mates or there's no such thing as mates at all, right? In this world, it's one or the other. There's so many things about this book that in other times I would be kind of annoyed at, but I wasn't here. Yeah. And I think that's because there's a lot more that Calie Hart, the author, is playing up here. It's not just about fated mates, it's about fate. Right?
Yes.
It's about, and that's the thing where it's like, yes, they are fated mates. However, there's so much more happening.
Yeah. That's what makes this special. This idea that some interlopers, the gods of the realms, have done everything they can to keep these two apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And fate continues to say, nope, we're going to make it happen. I think that is more interesting.
Yes.
Than, oh, mates only happen once in a while. And, oh, look, you just happen to be my mate. Like,
yeah.
The fact that Saris was supposed to have a storyline that then shifted because the gods intervened and how different her life ended up being, that is such a fascinating thing to think about, and I'm sure we'll explore more in Brimstone, which is the second book. I really enjoyed that dynamic. I also wasn't expecting the vampire fae crossover.
Yeah, in the reread, there's hint of werewolves.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a coming.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by familiar dynamics, where it's, I am not familiar with alchemy. Not a clue. Vampires, very familiar with.
Well, and that's why I was like, it's an amalgamation. It's every kind of lore we can think of has been thrown into this melting pot. And I think that's what makes this world so interesting. I think what attracts so many people to it, because everyone can find something they enjoy, even if you're not a fae I mean, it's heavy on the fae, but like it's also about to be very heavy on the vampires too.
I mean, and you have other, fantasy things going on, right? You have the sprites, you have goblins, and all of that other stuff. It does a good job of having things that we're familiar with and comfortable with. You don't have to explain certain things. You don't have to explain what vampires mean. You don't have to explain fae. I like the combination of the lore of the blood curse, that fae used to have the blood curse and they chose not to. So now you have these two things that we're familiar with, and she's intertwining them in a way that's like, oh, well, this is unique.
Yeah, exactly.
/ I'm on board with it. Like, / they're fae, but they can still bite and drink blood. And that's hot.
Yeah, that is hot, as we can see in this novel. Yeah, I love this twist. I'm sure the werewolves are probably also fae, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm very excited to see what happens next. So why don't we talk about world building in general?
Yeah. World building, there were some pros people listed and cons. If for whatever reason, people are just like, hey, this is the first time I've ever heard you my entire life. Welcome. 2, we poll people on Instagram and we kind of get their thoughts, questions, and concerns. One of the pros that people did list was the world building. A lot of people did find the world to be interesting. I'm going to agree with that. I'm looking through the comments. So yeah, people found the world interesting. I like the slight Star Wars aspect of it.
Okay, explain just the many, many universes.
Yeah, there's space.
Well, Quicksilver is essentially space travel.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it is. Yeah. That's the cool thing, right? Is that, Saris was in a world where there was no night. And there's 2 suns, and there was no water, there was no night. And she travels to this whole other world. There's darkness now, there's snow falling. She doesn't understand all of that. But the people that she goes to, they know about her world, right? Very familiar. And like, she doesn't know much about anything else. So you have this element of Saris comes from a land of just, regular people humans trying to survive, that gets conquered by Madra. And am I saying her name right?
Yeah.
Who's getting conquered.
Has been
conquered and is under the wrath of her. So she understands the lore of fae. She's heard, the bedtime stories. She's so unfamiliar with the rest of the world. Some people didn't like the stark difference between, we'll call it like the first maybe 10% of the book being in this other world and then shifting over to the next one, because it felt like, some people were saying that it felt like such a hard transition for both the character and for the world. And that's how I initially felt too. Saris was very different from the first like 10% to the rest of the book.
Yeah, and I can see that. Yeah.
And then I have different opinions, but let's hear your thoughts.
Let's focus on the first 10% in her home world. I thought that was a great start. You really come to understand her, what she's gone through, what the people around her have suffered.
Yes.
And the desperation. I thought it was a great flash moment. You very quickly come to understand who she is and this life of the 3rd district. Yeah. And all of her skills, the climbing, the metalwork, the sword play, that's all very believable given her circumstances. I understand how people view it kind of gets lost when she transitions into Kingfisher's world, basically. So I did not mind the transition because I thought it was a really brilliant way for Callie to do what most fantasy books do, which is give you a protagonist who's unfamiliar with the world.
Yeah.
Right? And this was one unique way of doing that. We didn't need much more to understand the world Cerys was in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we get to experience the new world with her.
I like the way she does it because it is so oftentimes like you have, how are you supposed to explain a new world to, readers? I want to go back to her personality felt like it changed because that was one of my initial things. And people comment as a negative that their personality changes. In my reread, her personality didn't change. The things that were dragging her down are gone.
Yeah.
Once she realized that her brother's safe, and the, family friend safe, her true personality, I feel like, got to shine through. There is like a stark difference in Cerys, but I can now see in my reread why that is. Her brother sucks so hard.
Oh God, I would have just killed him myself. So I completely agree with what you're saying. Cerys has gone from a place where she can't meet her own basic needs. She can't drink water.
Yeah.
Right? Except in sips over long periods of time. She goes from that to being put in a place of luxury. I'm not surprised she's confused. We saw this with Feyre in A Court of Thorns and Roses. She went from a place where she was starving and malnourished and had to hunt for her family to a place of luxury and contentment and food and nourishment. The same is happening here. When your basic needs are met, you have the time.
You will change.
Yeah,
you're going to change. Yeah,
exactly. You have the time to think about and what do you want for yourself?
And we saw her at the beginning talking. There was 3 dynamics that we saw. Dynamic 1 was with the mentor guy. That was her being scolded and her kind of being frustrated because she's just trying to survive and then realizing I screwed up and I put him in danger. We don't really get another mentor. We don't see that again. So, of course, we're going to see that dynamic being, different. And then we see her dynamic with her brother. And he is the worst brother ever. He sucks so hard. But it makes sense that once he's gone, she doesn't have that dynamic with anyone else. So we're not going to see that part of her personality. Now, how she interacts with Carrion
is consistent.
Is consistent with the rest of the book.
Yeah. Yep.
If once basic needs are met and you're not drinking, it was only 6 ounces of water a day. I'm looking through this.
That's 12 ounces.
This is 12 ounces.
A can of soda is 12 ounces.
Half a can of LaCroix. I'm not drinking soda. I'm drinking LaCroix. LaCroix. But yeah, it's half a can of soda. But yeah, I'm let the listeners know. I'm here drinking limoncello LaCroix. Amy doesn't like lemon.
I don't.
All the more from me.
And limoncello LaCroix tastes like a soaked lemon poppy seed muffin. And then you drink the water that the muffin was soaked in.
I'm going to drink my soggy muffin. But it is, I can't imagine half of that, right?
Yeah.
Half of that. I cannot handle.
I drink more than a gallon of water a day.
Have you?
I do.
I feel like you used to not drink as much water.
No. If you drink 3 Stanleys.
Yeah.
It's a gallon.
Yeah. I've been bad with my water lately.
Yeah, it's harder to drink water consistently when it's cooler.
And when you haven't washed your Stanley.
Yeah, that's also part of it.
And I need to go do that. I haven't been drinking out of it. It's just been sitting there. Anyway, but yeah, when your basic needs are met and your dynamics of someone that you have to take care of and someone that who's trying to keep you alive and you're trying to keep them alive and who's been a mentor to you. Once those dynamics are gone, then she doesn't need to hover and be as intense as she was before.
I empathize with that as someone who had to leave the state in order to get away from her family and actually get to be an adult. It's different when you're not, I'm not going to say a burden, only because my sister might edit
I was going to say, are you cool? Like, either your sister or your mom is going to edit this episode. We could make a note that they don't touch this one.
No, it's
But
it's
the
fine.
thing is, it's a responsibility that honestly should not be a sibling's responsibility. That is not the role a sibling should do. And that is a role that is put upon someone. It's not, no one is born to be taking care of someone that they didn't bring into this world like that. It doesn't matter whether like it works out and you love them and all these amazing things. It's still a heavy responsibility to bear.
It is. With Saris and Holden, her brother,
Mm-hmm.
I would say I wish she had let him fail more. I understand why she won't, because of the trauma of her mother being slaughtered, him being the only family that she has, her feeling obligated to keep him safe. I just feel like, let him go to prison.
Yeah, the thing is though, like you can't let him fail because failing could mean death so quickly in that world.
Yeah.
Amy's really considering it.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
When your addictions keep you from functioning,
Yes,
like not only risking your own safety but the safety of the people that you love.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You deserve. No one owes you anything.
No one owes you anything. I mean, there's like so many heavier subjects that people don't give this book credit for. Having a family member who's going through addiction issues, be it alcohol, gambling, whatever it is, but it's something that impacts them so much so that you have to literally leave to another world to not feel like you have to take care of them the whole time. It is like, I mean, she even says at one point, Holden's in this other safer ward or district, but knowing him, he's going to go and fuck that up too.
Yeah, I actually find this element fascinating that as soon as she hears from Carrion that Holden is in a different district, he has a job, he's safe, he's got a roof over his head, she lets it go. She's like, okay, he's safe. I think that is her giving herself permission to give up on Holden and let him find his way and make the mistakes he needs to make, because you can't changing the surroundings of someone who's suffering from addiction does not guarantee that they recover from that addiction. So Holden is going to be in a crappy situation the next time Saris finds him. I believe that in my soul.
I agree. And he deserves to be in a crappy situation. He's going to come in and then she's going to be queen. And then he's going to be like, I can take advantage of this. And Carrion's going to be like oddly big brother. Anyway, those are my predictions. But I think, go ahead.
I just really quickly need to also add, for the sake of our listeners, I know we're being really crappy towards Holden as this character with addiction. This is not how I would treat people with addiction.
Yeah. There's a lot more.
That as someone who has an addictive personality, who has suffered from addiction or with addiction, I maybe am not displaying a lot of empathy because it's a fictional character, but I do have a lot of empathy for.
There was some time that I went to support a friend and we went to, it's not AA meetings, but it's like AA for the family members. If your family member has some kind of addiction, whether it's alcohol, drugs, it was a group, support group for that. And I learned something very fascinating, that the number one lesson they teach you there is you let them go. They could be banging on your door. They could be screaming, begging, saying, I will do whatever, I'll get better, but it has been unanimous. Maybe there's some books that suggest otherwise. Like, it's not like this version of their 12 step is like an end all be all, but it's just fascinating where the professionals who have dealt with this say, hey, you have to let them fail or survive, and that's like, comes down to the individual. So it is easier to be harsh on Holden because he's not a real person. However, that is a very real way of having to treat something.
Otherwise, you're just enabling them. Yeah. Saris has been enabling her brother.
And she says so. Like, she recognizes you would never guess that my brother's only 2 years younger than me the way he acts. I agree. Her being able to let him go, it's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming
now. It's you and me. But genuinely, it's been inevitable. I think that there's a lot of tension at the start of the book of just how much she is ready to let her brother go in many ways, but she feels like she can't. And so, like, what happens when not just all of your physical needs are met, but the needs of making sure everything else is in place are met.
Yeah, and the responsibilities that you had that prevented you from being able to ask the existential questions of why am I here? What am I doing? What do I want to do with life? When those responsibilities are taken away, it's world changing.
That is world changing. And she's literally in a world change. Like,
she's in a different world. Excuse us while we hydrate and you listen to this ad.
Over the last few years, my health has been a big priority, but in order to do that, I want to treat my body with kindness.
For my personal journey, that means understanding the way my body works because not every body operates the same.
Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you're going to know what's going on with your metabolism, which is amazing and scientific, and I'm so fascinated that it can tell whether I'm burning fats or carbs, and I can really focus on how I want to build my health and nutrition that day.
What's great is you can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time.
I love the Lumen app because it gives you tips on how to keep on top of your health game, and it really lets you see what your body's doing.
Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health, and that includes a personalized nutrition plan based on that day and what the Lumen is picking up.
It can also track your cycle as well as the onset of menopause and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts.
What I think is great about it, it brings awareness to what's going on so you can make more informed choices when you're deciding what you're going to eat.
And I really need informed choices when I'm on my period. Spring back into your health and fitness by going to lumen.me/booktalk to get 15% off your Lumen.
That is lumen.me/booktalk. BOOKTOK for 15% off your purchase.
Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. Amy, you know when you're done reading a really good book and you just have an itch to scratch? You have a trope, a theme, a genre, something that you just really want to get another good story. Fortunately, with Galatea, you have over 1,000 stories to choose from shifter romance to sci-fi, from thrillers to bad boy billionaires, forbidden love, werewolf series, alpha fantasy, rom-coms, and so much more.
Galatea is a reading app where modern book lovers can dive into a library of immersive stories with sound effects, vibrations, and real-time pacing that adapts to your reading speed. Every scene comes alive.
Galatea is home to original series and standalone stories with an exclusive catalog of best-selling authors, and new chapters drop daily. So there's always something new to explore.
Over 30 million people have already made Galatea their go-to. Join now to escape the ordinary and indulge in stories that make you feel everything.
Right now, Galatea is offering our listeners an extra 25% off on top of an already irresistibly affordable subscription when you go to galatea.com/booktalk.
That's GALATEA.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK to indulge in unlimited stories for even less. Galatea.com/booktalk.
That's your money saying it's time for a McDonald's run. Because with new McValue at McDonald's, you get more than you expect. Like buy a 6-piece McNuggets and add a McChicken for just $1. Your money says let's go. Get more than you expect with new McValue. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
Uh-oh. The last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
But Saris was one of those, is a very funny character, and I felt like her responses to many things were very realistic, in my opinion, when she finds out the truth about, you know, being mates with Kingfisher, right? Where she's like, oh, well, thank you for being the one to choose this. And thank you for all that, for taking that choice away from me. I appreciate some of these larger moments from her. I normally find a lot of issues with books when I do not find female relationships. You get a little bit of that with Elena, or Kingfisher's sister.
Elaine.
Isn't
it?
I don't think it's just Elaine.
So her nickname is Lane.
Okay.
Everlane, sorry.
Everlane, wow. All right, neither of us. Yeah. So Everlane was a quick dose, right, of female bonding, and then she's gone. Then we don't see anything else. We don't get much with the healer for, plot reasons. That's okay. We get the female guard who sucks ass. Like, she's just such a bitch. And again, I would normally would be very annoyed of, oh, you gave me, one female relationship and and now you're taking her away. And the one other woman I have here is someone who's like the bitch woman. I don't appreciate that.
The healer is someone she's jealous of because she misunderstands the fact that. Yeah.
All these things are things that normally rub me the wrong way. I didn't have that feeling here.
Why do you think that is?
Saris, and I think there was never a doubt of the guys wanting her. And honestly, I feel like Carrion is her girl bestie, like in many ways.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I think what female relationships and female dynamics bring is a sense of connection and emotional intimacy that you don't get to see between female male characters represented often in books. If you do, they're going to end up together. You just don't get that like hardcore friendship. Well, they've already fucked, and that's a constant joke and theme. But I actually think that Carrion makes up for that emotional intimacy that I like to see my main female character have.
Yes, he definitely provides, he's kind of the queer best friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's obviously very interested in just everybody and anybody.
He's pansexual.
He is pan, and I agree, provides the nagging of a best friend, the,
teasing,
the teasing,
seriousness.
But also the like, okay, whatever you want to do, I'll follow you.
Yeah. Or the times where he does go, no, I won't make fun of you. Talk to me.
Yeah.
Let's talk it out. He does care, I love these little moments that Callie includes where when Saris wakes up, they're in Kingfisher's home and Carrion's finally awake. She notices that he hasn't gone even for the water or the food.
Mm-hmm.
And he is checking in on her first.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many signs that he cares. He has a little potted plant with him because it was really snowy and icy and this little thing deserves to live. And
he hasn't seen a plant.
Yeah.
In so long.
Yeah.
Or ever.
He's such a vibe. That was probably one of the number one things when people were like, what are the things you like? Carrion Swift was repeated.
Oh, good.
I got to enjoy him so much more even the second time around. One of the lines where what was one of my favorite moments was we can't bring Carrion to the witches. He's going to try to sleep with one. What do you mean? They're nasty, horrible, disgusting creatures. No, it's fair. I would try to sleep with one just to say for the experience of it.
I really like how Callie used Carrion because he could have just been a plot device.
Yeah.
But he ends up being so much more than that. He has so much character. He provides that emotional intimacy for the protagonist. He is emotionally intimate as well in return. I did wonder, for 60% of the book, WTF, why is he here?
Yeah.
I was like, and I loved how it all played out.
I haven't been that surprised by something. And I will say, in the reread, tons of clues.
I'm sure. As soon as it happened, I could see the clues. But leading up to it, it was like the fated mates thing. I didn't catch the cards Callie was putting down.
Yeah, I love Carrion because, like you said, she could have made him a plot device, even with the truth of his identity being revealed, right?
Yeah.
That could have been a plot device.
Yeah.
But what he ends up being is such an emotional grounding force, which you would never expect from a character that is not, you would immediately assume is not very emotional, right? He comes in with the jokes. He comes in with the Carrion, right? It's a very funny, but at the same time, he is also the catalyst of many heavy subjects and conversations and being there for Saris in many ways as well. And their relationship, what I like about is that I don't even consider it sibling-esque, mainly because they've had sex, but also because there's just a level of emotional emotional intimacy that comes with it. And I know people are like, they're like my brother, they're like my sister, we're so close.
Mm-hmm.
I specifically don't think that's the case because her brother was someone she had to take care of.
Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't get that. He is almost like the brother that she should have had in many ways,
Yeah.
where she didn't have to take care of him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in Carrion's case, he is the only equal in her life.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that is important and why the time he spends on the page is so valuable and why we enjoy it so much, because it's not someone she's taking care of. It's not someone who could overpower her but who chooses not to, or whatever the case is. He is truly like her in many ways.
I mean, he's just as displaced as she is. He calls himself a political asylum seeker. He had to leave when he was just a child into the night, into a whole other world that he doesn't belong there. Well, guess what? Saris doesn't belong in her world either. Yeah. They really are equals and balanced. And I love that you pointed that out. And I feel like what Callie does so well is that, one, this is a personality, or this is like almost like a trope you could assume is a trope character, right? That like really horny, funny side character.
Comic relief.
Exactly. Yeah. But it never feels that way because she intertwines so much heart and meaning, and you just don't realize how much that he's actually there for Saris and how much that matters. And like, he calms her down by riling her up and so many times that you're just, I don't think Saris would have been able to come to the conclusion of her emotions and being accepting of Kingfisher without Carrion.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Hey guys, love him more.
Yeah, well, as if they don't already.
I know. Do you want to talk about something that people don't like, or
just some of the comments I'm seeing? People are like us. The plot twists here legitimately surprised me.
Yep.
I think this was a book where I couldn't see things coming. That's rare.
Yeah.
I think because of how much analysis we do for a book to truly catch me off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, like, you're also someone that I'll be like, I didn't see it coming. You're always the one who will see it coming before me. So I'm just like, what does it feel like to be me?
It's fun.
Yeah. I live a great life. One of the comments that people I saw say that they may not have been a fan of, and again, this is something that I had questioned to my first read, thoughts on it the second read, is the pacing of the book.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be kind of mixed in tandem with some of the, I'm generalizing some comments and / bringing up thoughts I had in my first read, where the pacing of the book mixed with, does the plot not actually happen until the very end of the book? I'm going to start, I have thoughts, and I have like my second read kind of gives me a different perspective. What are your thoughts before I dive in?
Yeah, I think I would need a second read to really be able to articulate my thoughts. I understand how some readers might think this kind of meanders for the first 60% of the book, because Saris takes so long to figure out how to use her alchemical gift to be able to forge these relics, right? A lot of this is just learning the world, the characters, until something can ignite a spark. Yeah. But I feel like that's a lot of books. I don't know that it bothered me.
Yeah. Let's break it down like you would any book, right? What's the inciting incident? She gets thrown into this other world, right?
Sure.
Like, the inciting incident is that, Kingfisher brings her from her world over to the next.
Would you say that's the inciting incident? I would say stealing the
the gauntlet
is the inciting incident.
Okay. You can argue that being the inciting incident, but I think that this one really kicks off the plot. I mean, everything's going to kick off the plot because that is a book. That's how books.
That's how fiction works.
Yeah. We'll call it like, that phase one, right? The thing that sends our hero from one world to the next. That could be Lord of the Rings, right? Frodo going off on his journey type thing.
Yeah.
Now you have the next structure of the book of what is the issue that needs to be resolved. And it's the larger arching issue, right? It's the thing that's going to get them from point A to point Z. That is, you need to use your alchemy gifts to make these rings, right?
And then I'll let you go home.
That is the larger arching plot that is meant to get you from to the very, very end. That is resolved throughout and revisited. Now, normally around 50%, we'll call it the more immediate worrying plot line is introduced. That is Everlane being kidnapped. Now, I will say percentage-wise, that is a bit later. That is, well, maybe like 75% rather, or even 80%.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue Everlane being captured is the end of that piece of the 50%, and the beginning of it starts with the very first fight with the vampires at the camp.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that there's no plot that's happening there in the sense of like, this is happening, we must do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, that's
now,
fair.
That's not me saying that it's a bad thing. I think that Callie does a great job filling it up with world building. Their romance is a plot within itself, right?
Yep.
Just kind of like also the nature of romantasy sometimes. Because their romance is more than just fated mates, but their romance is about fate itself, and it's about a lot more. It's about destiny and everything. That I'm still okay with it being a larger part of it, but I can understand where people are like, may not feel that same way. I can understand if someone's like, hey, you have plot, and then where's this other plot? And it's like, well, the plot, right? Like the thing that's being resolved and talked about there is romance, but I'm personally, in my second read, I'm totally okay with it. My first read, I was confused about it, and I was wondering, I'm like, would it having been broken up in two parts been more
effective
or just easier to consume for a reader? I don't know where I would have done that, and I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think there's a logical breaking point, because every piece of information that you get feeds into the next.
Yeah.
And it all builds up to kind of that. I feel like it all builds up to the moment that Everlane is captured.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? Because Sarah starts to learn how to forge relics and the swords, and then she's crowned a warrior, and then Everlane's caught. All of the stuff before, whether that's 60% of the book, 70% of the book, is necessary.
Yeah. For such a big book, because this is another book that she thick. It is not one. I get to the point where I'm like, did we already get so much done? Like, we're already here? We've listened to so much of this book, and I'm like, but I don't feel like it's dragged at all. Like I personally feel the pacing was, and some people do note under positives that they liked the pacing of the book, and the pacing was really well done, especially Callie, if you're listening to this, thank you for letting weeks happen in between. Like,
yes, seriously.
This didn't happen within 5 days.
Yeah. Yep. It's over months.
Yeah. Really grateful for this.
Yeah.
Very grateful that, early on, Kingfisher is gone for 2 weeks. That's surprising. Where I was like, oh.
She's been recovering for 10 days.
Yeah, 10 days. And then, she recovered for 10 days. Then she was at the first castle for almost a full week. I mean, they traveled within the day, but then it was like more days and then another 10 days. Like, this was a larger space of time, so that when they did fall in love, it's fated mates. Yeah, they were always meant to be together. Yeah, there's natural chemistry, and he loved her the second he saw her. But like, you gave me time, and I embrace it. And I say, thank you, Callie. Thank you.
I agree. The time was necessary to make Sarah's journey of falling in love with Kingfisher necessary.
Yeah. She doesn't... Wait, does she? She doesn't really tell him she loves him, does she? Does she?
No. Not till the end, does she?
Does she? I don't... We just finished this book. She accepts the mating bond.
You just finished it.
That was...
Yeah, I don't
3 hours ago.
I don't think she ever says I love you.
Yeah.
She just accepts the bond, and it's not even to his face that she accepts it.
Yeah. What a baller move. It's the stuff that I can tell Callie did very intentionally, right?
Yes.
The fact that Kingfisher falls first, falls fast. Love it. I actually really love that they kiss so early on. And it's like,
I did too.
Where it's kind of, we're not going to pretend like they're not horny for each other.
Right.
Clearly they're horny for one another, but.
Right. And they're not going to let propriety get in the way of that.
They're also not going to let their own horniness get in the way of their own anger.
Yeah.
Like, I will be mad no matter what. But I love that even in this journey, even with Sarah's accepting the bond, knowing that she wants to be there with Kingfisher, saying, I want to stay in this world, talking to the gods, saying, I want to go back with him, all of that stuff. There's still that level of on her own pace, at her own time.
Yeah.
Also, I could never. Sarah's wakes up and accepts that Kingfisher isn't there immediately at her bedside and doesn't come to her right away, my feelings were hurt.
Wait, when she first enters the world?
No. When she, at the very end, when she wakes up as a vampire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't even the second person or the third person.
Mm-hmm.
He was the fourth person.
You really, really felt that. I can tell by your face.
She's better than me. So, like, Sarris is a stronger human than me.
Well, she's still trying to decide, right?
And that's what makes her so cool, right? Is the fact that, like you said, she's still trying to decide. It's not an immediate, she does say, where's Kingfisher? But it's not her yelling at him like, come get me. Why are you not here?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, all right, I'm processing, and maybe I don't need him here to process. Maybe I, in fact, do need a little bit of time on my own.
Well, which makes sense because ultimately, at the end of the day, she didn't give consent to be turned.
Yeah. And he addresses that, though, too. Like, I really love that he says, was that the right move?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I am really glad, too, because consent was such a huge, important part of her journey and, you know, things that they had to work through, that it did feel like a huge betrayal.
Yeah.
Like you want her to survive. The only way to survive is to turn her. You want that to happen, but you've definitely betrayed her in the process of doing that based on this entire book and all the interactions between the two of you. It makes sense that she needed time to process. He shouldn't have been there right away so that she could decide, yes, he did do the right thing.
Also, let's add the extra layer of consent because Sarris talks about consent a lot. I do not consent to this. If you want me to hate you in this world and the next, I can do it. I'll hate you. She makes it very early on, and she can have enough like, okay, I get it. You haven't done it to hurt me. You've done it to protect me. But here on out, no.
Mm-hmm.
In tandem, Kingfisher is only weeks fresh from repeated years of sexual abuse. You have Sarris talking about consent and why this means so much to me. And then Kingfisher having to hear that, realizing he is taking away choice from her. And then you have at the very end, right, this climax at the very end where who's the guy, I swear I remember
starts
names.
with a T.
No, it begins with an M. Not Moriarty, but like the guy who abused him. Yeah, the vampire.
Oh, I thought you were thinking about the vampire's son.
No.
Malcolm,
thank you. So when you think about this very end, right, this moment of what do I do? She didn't consent. He had just faced his abuser. He has just come back to the place of abuse. Kingfisher is now facing everything in the reality. Now his friends know. Yeah. His friends all know. His friends understand what he went through, the subtext that's going on there. And even though, he got to see his abuser die, but now this whole thing of consent, which I'm sure has been warring within him, he has to then break her consent for this. And just that it adds how much it must have destroyed him to have done that in that moment.
Right. Because to what extent is he not just being Malcolm?
Yeah.
Right? He's become the abuser in that situation. I'm not saying he did, but I'm saying
in his mind.
Own mind.
Yes, yeah.
He probably equates himself to Malcolm.
Yep.
When he makes that choice. That's why he literally waits until the brink of death.
Yeah.
She is seconds from dying when he says, okay, do it.
I'm sure in their next book, there'll probably be some conversation on, what does it mean that you did this without my choice? But I personally feel like some of it was resolved here.
Is it a little too easily resolved?
I'm not mad at it.
I mean, I don't know that I'm mad at it.
So one of the things that I appreciate with Callie's writing, and I'm not familiar with her other books, so, I don't know if this is like a her thing or a this book thing. Topics are not dragged out. It's not you took away my consent and you forced me to do this, and I'm going to be mad at you for the next 30 chapters.
Yeah, I'm going to punish you for the next 30 chapters.
And that might be a me thing, and it's like you also don't have this moment where she was like, you were hiding your mate'ness from me. I'm going to be mad at you. She goes back into the room after she discovers the truth, and he's like sitting at a chair just being absolutely wrecked, and she sits with him, and then until it's time for her to go. And then she still comes back and is like, hey, I want to give this a chance. She moves past things. And I don't say quickly in a bad way. I say quickly in a way that she's able to process things that I'm on board with. And it's like, okay, I'm happy you're not dragging out this angst for the sake of it.
And I think that's because we see her process. The processing is logical or makes sense to us on an emotional level, and it's mature, I think, is what it comes down to me.
Yes.
What it comes down to for me is she has her moments of anger or hurt. She's mature enough to work through them.
Yeah.
To have a conversation and say, I'm not done hurting. This still wasn't okay, but we can move on.
I feel like Sarris understands nuance.
Yeah.
Without saying, I understand nuance.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so refreshing in a character for me, where she's able to say, hey, this is a sticky situation, but I get it. I don't like it.
Well, and I don't know why it's just now dawning on me. She has to understand nuance when Holden was her brother.
Oh, you're right. He is a definition of her understanding nuance and, having to forgive over and over.
Yeah. And someone who repeatedly harms you.
Yeah.
Whether they want to or not. So it does make sense that she would be able to process things much more quickly.
Yeah.
Given the situation. I think it also makes sense why she's able to forgive Kingfisher for that ultimate consent betrayal at the end, because when has anyone ever made a choice for her that was in her best interest?
I mean, the last time was probably her mom, and that was having to do sex work in order to keep her kids alive.
I'm just now putting together some parallels between Mom and Kingfisher.
Yeah. Yeah. It's heavy. This book is so much heavier than people
give it credit.
Because I know there's a lot. Let's talk about the smut, because I know people, when this book first came out, everyone was like, it's so spicy and I love it. And it is. It's funny. I don't want to compare books because that's like not good, but hello, book podcast. We mentioned in Onyx Storm that like, while the sex scenes are fun, it feels like it's written by someone that's like, just the act of having sex is like, ooh, I'm naughty, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sarris fucks. Fucks. You know what I mean? Like she was saying things that I was like, I get it, but like, this is one that I can believe that, this isn't just like, we're having sex and it's naughty. It's like, she fucks. So I can appreciate the smut. However, when I talk about Callie having so much more intention in her writing that we can see so far, here's example is looking at the smut. They have sex 3 times in this book, which is not much for how big of a book this is. The first time, it is right after Kingfisher sees his abuser for the first time, after being free. Mm-hmm. His abuser is across the river and he's like, hey, like, I miss you and stuff. Kingfisher is trying to cope, trying to process, and he gets the hell out of there and he takes Sarris with him. I'm not saying that Kingfisher has sex with Sarris because he sees his abuser. I think that Sarris is obviously his partner and is able to help him through it, but there's a connection between, he just saw his abuser, he needs to get out of there, and he finds comfort with someone that he truly cares about, right?
Yeah.
That's the first time they have sex. The second time they have sex, it is Sarris instigate in many ways. It's her choice. Mm-hmm. Like, it's obviously her choice for everything, but like, we'll call it like the first time was Kingfisher. If you kind of like, there's a larger subtext going on there. Yeah. Sarris wants it. She's not saying, oh no, please don't. Right. Obviously she wants this. The second time it's Sarris finding control.
Yes.
And owning control of that situation, being in control of her own life and realizing that there's a lot of things that she doesn't have, but she can have this, right?
Which is why that is also the first time he bites her.
Exactly.
Because she wants it.
And he wouldn't do that unless she wanted it, right? And she's the one who demanded it. Sarris fucks. And then the third time is their emotional goodbye. Well, let's have tonight. Stay tonight. Fight the break of dawn. I want to ask her if that's what she was playing when she wrote that. But, it is it's so much, it's about healing, right? It's about putting aside your frustration with someone and saying, I can still love you and not know the answer of what I want.
Yeah. Intention.
Purpose. Just because Callie's good at writing it doesn't mean that there won't be some umph behind it, I guess. I don't know, but I also won't hate it. He's good.
There's substance. Good. There's substance on many levels in the spicy scenes. But to your point, there is a point where some other books we've read, it's smut for the sake of smut, not intentional smut.
And that's okay too.
Yeah.
I won't be mad if she releases bonus chapters of them just having sex for the sake of it. I'm not mad at that. But for a book that clearly has so much more intention behind it, that has a lot more meat and potatoes, I would expect the smut to have substance to it too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, someone wrote the choking during intimate moments can go very wrong. Don't write it. Like someone was not a fan of choking. It's not for everyone, and that's okay. Thank you for listening to part 1 of this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jac and Amy. Stick around for part 2, which airs on Thursday.
We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. If you'd like to submit your take on any of the books we plan to discuss later this winter, please be sure to follow us on Instagram, where we ask for listener thoughts and submissions.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon or Venmo. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. Bye. I did not realize how sickly I look between this color and that background.
It's not that you look sickly. It's none of the light is working for you.
No, it's really not. Amy, you know when you're done reading a really good book and you just have an itch to scratch? You have a trope, a theme, a genre, something that you just really want to get another good story. Fortunately, with Galatea, you have over 1,000 stories to choose from shifter romance to sci-fi, from thrillers to bad boy billionaires, forbidden love, werewolf series, alpha fantasy, rom-coms, and so much more.
Galatea is a reading app where modern book lovers can dive into a library of immersive stories with sound effects, vibrations, and real-time pacing that adapts to your reading speed. Every scene comes alive.
Galatea is home to original series and standalone stories with an exclusive catalog of best-selling authors, and new chapters drop daily. So there's always something new to explore.
Over 30 million people have already made Galatea their go-to. Join now to escape the ordinary and indulge in stories that make you feel everything.
Right now, Galatea is offering our listeners an extra 25% off on top of an already irresistibly affordable subscription when you go to galatea.com/booktalk.
That's GALATEA.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK to indulge in unlimited stories for even less. Galatea.com/booktalk.